What is going on, wonderful people? My name is DestinyElement. I hope you guys are all doing well, and we are back with another Honkai Star Rail video for today, man. So, 2.2 is right around the corner. I'm pretty sure 2.2 is going to be here in less than 16 hours. And this is your last chance to summon for Aventurine. You know, if you guys saw my tier list video, I said he's a phenomenal sustain. He has solo sustain potential, a very good shield. He's going to replace Gepard, and he's honestly a really good replacement if you don't have Fushuan. So if you guys want to summon for him, last chance to go for him. Now, with 2.2 right around the corner, I did want to talk about the characters coming in 2.2, specifically Robin and Boothill. So this video, I just wanted to cover if I think you guys should summon for these characters, you know. So I want to basically express my thoughts on these characters and, you know, share with you guys their kits, what they do, how they operate, if they're going to have a lot of longevity, like if these are characters that you're gonna be able to invest in, build, and then use for like over a year from now, you know. And then also to take into account like what your box has currently, you know, because depending on what you have currently in your box, you probably aren't going to summon for Boothill or Robin. Maybe you'll skip and maybe you'll go for a future character like Firefly who's coming. So I will say from the beginning, if there is a character that you really like, if there's a character that you've been saving for, you know, and you really like their design, their kit, their story, maybe you just really like this character, summon for that character. You know, it doesn't really matter if the character is OP or not. Like, you know, if the character is not the best character in the game, don't even worry about it, you know. Like, at the end of the day, you should be able to have fun and play with the characters that you enjoy. So Star Rail, it's not a hard game, and you're not required to complete everything immediately as soon as it comes out. So, you know, just make sure you're prioritizing your favorite characters and you're using your favorite characters, because that's what makes the game fun. But if you are someone that wants to maybe min-max your team, or if you're looking to have a more informed decision on who to add to your box because you're a free-to-play player and you don't want to spend Stellar Jade on every banner, I'm kind of just here to offer my 2 cents. You know, you don't have to take my opinions as word of mouth, but if you guys do enjoy the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, really does help me out. And yeah, let's get into it. So the first character I do want to talk about is actually Boothill, because I feel like Boothill is the less anticipated character of the two. Boothill is pretty cool design wise. He's a Galaxy Ranger, but at the same time, I feel like more people were anticipating Robin and have saved up for Robin, so I kind of want to give my opinions on her last. But when it comes to Boothill, he is a physical hunt character. So as a physical hunt character, he doesn't operate the same way as Dr. Ratio, Topaz, or Sealy. While yes, he does have crit rate and crit damage scaling with his talent, he is a character that benefits the most off of break effect. He is a character that you are going to scale break effect with. So I'm going to post his skills and his details like on screen. But to summarize Boothill, he is a hunt character that will access a stance that lasts for 2 turns with a skill, and it will taunt enemies. And whenever your allies hit that enemy that is taunted by Boothill, they will receive increased damage. But Boothill is able to give himself a buff, and that buff I think is called it's called like Trick Shot, and Trick Shot is able to stack I think up to 3 times, and the more stacks of Trick Shot that you have, the more your enhanced basic attack toughness will like deal damage, so you'll be able to reduce the enemy's toughness quicker. And with that, that's when the other part of his passive is going to kick in, and whenever he breaks the enemy's toughness, he deals break damage, and his break damage is going to scale off of his physical damage. So this is a character which you will probably run like speed boots, because you want him to act quickly. You want a break effect rope, physical damage orb. Chest piece, you can probably run crit damage or attack percent on him. I would probably say attack percent, because it would make your break scale higher, because break dots, or not break dots, just break effect in general can't crit. So that is something that you should take into account. So with more attack percent, the higher that he'll scale, but we kind of have to see the numbers when he comes out. You know, he could run an attack percent chest piece. He could also run a crit damage chest piece, but he does get crit rate and crit damage with his talents, or with his traces specifically. So overall, comparing him to the other characters that we currently have. So if we take a look at, let's say, Sealy, you know, she isn't really similar to him in a sense, but I think looking at Boothill and looking at his flexibility, he's going to be able to pump out more damage than Sealy, because a lot of Sealy's damage comes from having that extra turn. You know, whenever she's able to kill a mob, she's going to get resurgence, she's going to deal extra damage, and that's what's going to make stuff like her ultimate, you know, her skill, and it's also just going to make, you know, or her skill deal more damage, you know, and that's the important part. Boothill, I feel like, is going to have easier access to damage because he relies off of his skill and being able to enhance his basic attack and break the enemy's toughness. So because he has a quick way of breaking the enemy's toughness, he has a quick way of accessing the damage, you know, in his kit. So jumping real quick over to the databank to look at the other characters. Now, if we're comparing Boothill to the other characters that we currently have in the game, specifically the hunt characters, we have Sealy, we have Topaz, we have Dr. Ratio, and then we have 4-star hunt characters like Dan Heng and Shushang. So, in my opinion, I don't think Boothill is a must summon, just for the sake that, like, yes, he is a pretty unique DPS, and he probably will pump out a lot of damage, you know. We are getting characters in the future that will have multiple toughness bars, and with that, characters like Boothill and Ranmei will do really well because you want weakness break efficiency. You want to be able to reduce the enemy's toughness as quickly as possible. I will say Boothill does seem to have an easier access to damage because you have a character that can give himself buffs, he can give himself crit damage, and he also builds stack to lower the enemy's toughness as quickly as possible so he can have easier access to that break damage, you know. So he will hit really hard. I think he's going to be a phenomenal hunt character, especially on teams with like Ranmei, or if you want to run him with like some defense shredders, you know. I can honestly see Boothill also doing really well with I don't know, maybe like as a flex pick as well, just because he has a taunt, and I think the taunt is also really nice because it increases the damage enemies receive when allies attack them, and that can be really nice. I think his ultimate also delays enemies' actions as well too by like 50% or 45%. So overall, you have a pretty flexible DPS. You know, you have a character who can buff himself, taunt enemies, debuff them by increasing the damage they take, delaying their action, and also enhancing his basic attack. And what makes break damage very unique is when you break the enemy's toughness, you delay their turn. So when you're pairing a character like Boothill with Ranmei, you know, you have some pretty solid sustain. Like, you're able to delay the enemy's turn and speed up your allies as well too with, you know, like speed sets. So Boothill, I think, will have an easier time getting the damage he needs out compared to a character like Sealy. Sealy, all of her damage comes from basically resurgence and her ultimate. You know, if she can't kill a mob and she can't get her extra turn, her damage is going to be pretty stagnant. So, you know, there's that. And then you have follow-up characters like Topaz and Dr. Ratio, and it kind of limits the team comp that they're on because they need follow-up characters to complement each other, you know, so that they can do their bombardment of attacks over and over and over again. So I think Boothill will definitely be quite flexible. I think his damage will definitely be on par. And overall, I think he's going to be a really good character as well too, even if you wanted to run him as a flex, because, you know, if you break the enemy's toughness with a physical character, you apply bleed. So, you know, there's dot capabilities with him as well too. But I don't know. I think his kit is pretty impressive. I think he's really good. But comparing him to Robin, which I do want to talk about, Robin is looking really insane on paper. Like, looking at what she does, I think she is probably a must summon, I would say. And the only reason why I say that is because, you know, we have a lot of supports in the game, but with the introduction to Robin, there are certain supports that will questionably, you know, probably fall behind, and that will specifically be Bronya. But yeah, before I actually get into Robin, I do want to say I don't think Boothill is a must summon. I do think if you are someone who is lacking a DPS, specifically a physical DPS, you know, maybe you don't have Clara built, or maybe you don't have a lot of hunt characters as well too. Maybe you are struggling with bosses and you need high single target damage. I think Boothill could be a really good addition to your box if you are lacking a solid DPS. You know, for someone like me, I have Himiko and Kafka, Sealy, Topaz, Jing Yuan, Jing Liu, Dr. Ratio, Acheron, Blackswan. I have no reason to summon for Boothill, so that's personally my opinion. But yeah, if you're lacking a DPS and you need a physical DPS, you know, if you're tired of using Clara, or if you need a character that can just mow down enemies' toughness, I would probably say Boothill is a good pick. You know, even if you don't have Ranmei, I think Boothill, you can definitely get a lot of value out of him. So, you know, it's kind of dependent on what DPSs you currently have in your box, but he is flexible enough to run with, you know, the majority of characters in the cast, in my opinion. Now, moving on to Robin. Robin is quite insane. So I'm gonna throw her skills and her ultimate and her information on screen as well too. But the gist of Robin's kit is that she is able to use her skill and she's able to buff the team's damage. But her big selling point is her ultimate. Her ultimate is going to advance the whole team's action by 100%. And you know, I really like Bronya because Bronya is able to advance an ally's action 100% while also dispelling debuffs, you know, but she is usually used in hyper carry comps with 1 DPS. With Robin, she kind of has the same flexibility that you would expect from Ron May, where you can kind of use Robin in a dual carry comp. So with that, you have a support character that is going to increase overall damage your team does, advance your team's action, but she also has bruiser capabilities because whenever she pops her ultimate, she is able to also deal physical damage as well too that scales off of her attack. So you have a Harmony character that can bruise a little bit, advance action, buff teammates damage as well too, and overall she's just a really good character. The only downside I would say there is to Robin is the fact that she does have a 160 cost ultimate. It is a very, very expensive ultimate, but you know, she is able to get extra energy from her traces. You know, whenever she pops her skill, she gets an additional 5 energy. And then whenever allies also attack, whenever allies use follow-up attacks, she's able to generate more energy off of that too. So she's most likely going to be a character that you run an energy regen rope on, or if you want to run Sprightly Von Whack or something, you know, you would probably do that. Robin is, you know, going to benefit follow-up teams more than anything. So characters like Himiko, Topaz, and Dr. Ratio, they will see the most use out of Robin. But that doesn't mean she can't be used on other teams, you know. Characters like Kafka also have a follow-up attack. You know, Clara is also super good with Robin. But even still, Robin's kit is also pretty valuable. You know, she gives a pretty hefty damage buff, and advancing the whole team's action is also huge because, you know, your team could do their abilities, do their rotation, and then, you know, after all their abilities are done, you can kind of just advance all of their actions right back up to the front. And even though Robin's ultimate is pretty expensive, she does generate energy relatively easily because of the extra energy that she regens from her skill, and then also from having follow-up attack allies as well too. So, you know, if you still want to run Robin with Kafka and Black Swan, if you want to run Robin with Acheron, if you want to run Robin obviously with Dr. Ratio and Topaz, you can. I think Robin has that flexibility, and she makes characters like Bronya, you know, fall a little bit behind, because it's like, why use Bronya, who will have a attack increase, a crit damage increase, and dispel debuffs and advance one ally's actions, when you can have a character that advances your whole team's action, gives a bigger damage buff, and just overall is a more flexible character as well too, you know. So that way you have more options DPS wise, because characters like Ron May and Robin are able to buff the team enough for dual carry comp, so you can run dual DPSs and you don't have to worry about it. I wouldn't say you can't run Robin in a hyper carry comp. You probably could, but at the same time, it's like you're not really trying to advance your sustain and your support characters to 100% action. You kind of want your DPS to act first because you want them to get the buffs. You want them to be able to benefit from all the current statuses that they have. You don't want to, you know, have your characters be too quick. Your support characters outspeed your DPSs, but overall, like, Robin is still a great character, you know, and I think she's gonna have a lot of longevity in this game. So comparing her to Bronya, comparing her to Ron May, and even comparing her to Sparkle. So, you know, it kind of sucks that they dropped Sparkle and then they dropped Robin, you know, and this is what I'm saying. Like, we have a lot of support characters in the game. You really can't go wrong with any of them. You know, if you are someone that just got Bronya, she's still a phenomenal support, you know, being able to dispel debuffs, buff actions, give overall damage buffs, attack, crit rate, defense with her traces. Like, Bronya is still a phenomenal support character. And then you have characters like Ron May, who are kind of doing everything. You know, they access dual carry comp. She gives weakness break efficiency, break effect, damage buff. She can give speed, delay the enemy's turn. Like, Ron May is just amazing character, you know. And then you get into characters like Sparkle, who have pretty similar kits to Bronya. You know, she is advancing action, buffing crit damage. You're going to use her on mono quantum teams or hyper carry teams, but Robin, I think, will be kind of like the best of both worlds. You're going to have a character that enables dual carry comps who can advance the team's action and also, still buff while supplying a bit of damage, not too much, but a bit of damage herself, because she's able to do physical damage while she's in her ultimate state. And I think that's really nice. So, do I think she's a must summon? It's hard, So if you are someone that has Bronya and Ron May, if you already have, double supports, or maybe you have Ron May and you have Sparkle, it's kind of hard to justify summoning for another support character if you already have 2 or more, Harmony characters. If you are someone that maybe missed out on Sparkle, missed out on Ron May, and you only have Bronya, or maybe you still haven't gotten Bronya, I would say she's a must summon. Yeah, if you have less than 2 support characters, I say she's a must summon. If you have more than 2 and you already have Ron May and Sparkle, or you already have Ron May and Bronya, then I probably wouldn't summon for her. But even if you did summon for her, I don't think it's a bad investment, because you can still run her on multiple different team comps, and she's very flexible with what she does. Now, longevity wise, I would say Robin is a better pick than Boothill, mostly because it is very easy to replace a DPS. DPSs are going to come and go. Some are going to buff themselves, some are going to do super high damage, some are going to introduce new mechanics, but there's always going to be a shinier DPS. When it comes to support characters, like when it comes to Harmony and Nihility characters, it is very, very hard to replace a support character. When you have characters like Silverwolf who have massive defense shred and weakness implant, you can kind of stiff arm yourself through the whole entire game. When you have characters like Ron May and Sparkle who can just sit on any team comp, buff that team, and make them hit so much harder, it's kind of hard to justify replacing them. And same thing with Robin, because at the same time, you can never have too many supports. You can always use more supports. So if you wanted to run Ron May and Robin on the same team and have no sustain, just 2 DPSs and 2 support, you probably could get away with it. But yeah, I would say DPSs are easier to replace, and there's always going to be a shinier DPS. Support characters like Harmony and Nihility characters are harder to replace. They're harder to come by. And even so, when we do get a better Harmony character or a better Nihility character, that doesn't make the other characters obsolete. If anything, it kind of strengthens them. It makes them better, So it's like, even though Robin can advance the whole team's action by 100%, her ultimate is still expensive, and maybe you want to run her with another character, 2 DPSs and a support. It kind of depends. It really does depend. If you're lacking supports, and you missed out on Ron May and Sparkle, I wouldn't summon for her. I would summon for her, my bad. Yeah, so to summarize, I don't think Robin is a must summon, but I would say she's pretty close up there, just for the sake that you have a very solid support who enables a lot for your team and can make your team act extremely, extremely fast with that advanced action movement. So overall, when it comes to Robin, I think Robin is very close to being a must summon, but it really depends on your box. If you are someone who is lacking Bronya, Ron May, or Sparkle, or maybe you only have 1 support, maybe you only have Ron May, or maybe you only have Bronya, or maybe you only have Sparkle, I would probably summon for her, Or actually, no, I would definitely summon for her. I think she still can be a really good investment. She's a very flexible character with some very, very strong buffs. She's going to excel the most on follow-up teams, because follow-up teams will help her regenerate energy the quickest. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you can't run her on another team. It really kind of depends on who you have in your box or who you're trying to use her with. But either way, whether you're running her on a follow-up team or you're running her on a hyper carry team, or maybe you're running her with Black Swan and Kafka, it really doesn't matter. Robin's buffs are extremely, extremely good, so you honestly can't go wrong. I would probably say she is a good pickup to have on your account. But I will say I would probably wait for when Robin does come out, look at her numbers, look at how she performs. And depending on how she performs, if you are not summoning for Jade and Firefly, then yeah, I would probably summon for Robin. I think she has a pretty good longevity in this game. I think she's basically future proof, because advancing the whole team's action is quite crazy, you know, and she just performs really well on multiple team comps, not just dual carry comps, and definitely not just dual carry follow-up attack comps. So yeah, I would probably say that's that. If you guys do enjoy the video, if you guys are summoning for Robin, if you guys are summoning for Boothill, let me know in the comments section. I would love to know how your guys' summons go. I'm probably going to skip out on this update. I don't think I'm going to summon, but I will be doing a summon video when Firefly does drop, so you know, stick around for that in the future. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being a part of this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Peace.